Well, the announcement this morning is we are wired. 100%. As far as we can tell from checking around the country, we are the first state in the nation to have 100% of our schools and libraries on the network and on the internet. That is a real achievement. The reason we're so excited about this is what it means for these people right here. But Duke Albanese, the Commissioner of Education, was at a conference recently where another state got a big national award for being 72% connected. And Duke scratched his head and said, wait a minute, we're 100%, what gives? And that's what's happened. And it's especially exciting because it's happened fast. And you can see in 1996, we were at a 9% hookup of schools in Maine at a 56 kilobit level, and now we're at 100%. That's an extraordinary achievement, and the credit is due particularly to Bell Atlantic. Bell Atlantic entered into an unusual, groundbreaking agreement with the Maine Public Utilities Commission in 1995, wasn't it, Ed? 1995, which involved the negotiation and the moving forward with this project, and today we're celebrating its completion. What it means is that every tiny dot on this map, every school, every library is on a statewide intranet. They can hook and connect with each other directly, and they're also connected to the internet. This is a milestone, not a completion. This is a milestone toward the integration of Maine schools and libraries with the resources, the knowledge resources of the entire world. I was at a conference in Orono 2 days ago talking about high-tech, high-wage jobs. And I said that there is absolutely no question in my mind that the major obstacle to creating high-tech, high-wage jobs in Maine is education. It's also the major opportunity. We are leading the nation in 4th grade math, 8th grade science, 4th grade reading. We celebrated that for about 40 minutes. Then what I said to Duke was, what about the rest of the world? That's where we want to lead. This is an enormous step in that direction. We are barely beginning to scratch the surface of the potential of the internet. We are barely beginning to understand what it can do and the educational resources that it can provide. I have a 7-year-old. He came home from school the other night, and somehow he'd gotten interested in Stonehenge. We've got an encyclopedia in our house that's pretty out of date. It had Stonehenge in it, but it wasn't very up to date. So we went through 3 steps, 4 steps. We turned the computer on, double-clicked on Netscape, double-clicked on Alta Vista, typed in Stonehenge, and we had 110,000 entries to choose from. We printed out pictures. In 15 minutes, there was more information about Stonehenge than I thought existed. Everything from scholarly articles to maps of how the stones were laid out to theories about what it all meant. And I think there maybe also were some entries involving rock groups called Stonehenge or something. The problem that I see with the internet now is that it is so rich, it is so laden with data, that we're going to have to figure out more sophisticated ways to search and to narrow our searches, because 110,000 entries isn't very helpful. By the way, there are about 400,000 entries if you type in Harley Davidson. But this is a real milestone for Maine. The next step is training to be sure that these things don't collect dust. And I have a suggestion for training. In every high school in Maine, there are a bunch of 16-year-olds who know more about this than any of the rest of us. They can train us. They can train the teachers, with all due respect. They can make it happen. And I hope that every school system in Maine will form a little group of inside the walls trainers who can then turn around and open this resource to the teachers, to the staff, and to their fellow students. Peer training is as good as it gets, and I think that's the next step. So we have now the wires in place, we have the infrastructure in place, and this is such an exciting time for Maine, because our historic disadvantage has been location. That's been the problem. We were at the end of the line. We're not anymore. No school in Maine is at the end of the line, and nationally or worldwide, and the schools up in Ashland or Van Buren or down in Kittery aren't at the end of the line either. This is a democratic, with a small d, this is a democratic institution. And it will allow us to communicate among and between our schools in ways that we've never dreamed possible. Couple this with the television system that's coming online this year in the high schools, interactive, real-time, super fast, fiber optic, ATM switched television connections between Maine high schools, and we are truly leading the nation. That's the news here today. First in the nation. My goal, as I said last week, was I think we're poised in Maine for a breakthrough in education. Not just a little incremental improvement, but a qualitative leap. And my goal is that we experience that breakthrough, and then 4 or 5 years from now, or even 3 years from now, when people across the country are talking about educational rankings, they'll say, well, we're first in the nation, except for Maine, of course. I want to be so far off the chart that we're in the category with Switzerland, Luxembourg, Singapore, and Finland, not Connecticut, Minnesota, and Tennessee. And we can do it. There is no reason we can't do it. And one of the enormous tools to do that is right here. Right here. We have to figure out how to use it. Teachers are going to have to learn how to use the internet, how to use it for something other than play, for just exploring, how to access those resources. I think that's the next challenge, but it's one that we can undertake. It's one that we can do. So my job is to say that today should be a day of tremendous celebration across this state. We don't celebrate enough. And this is a real achievement. And I want to thank Ed Dinan of Bell Atlantic for his visionary leadership, and for the leadership of that company for literally linking us up. And I think in a few minutes I'm going to get to play on these machines. Ray Poulin said you didn't think he'd be able to keep me away from the mouse very long. And I'm probably going to learn something from these young people right here. So Ray, Gary's going to give us some more background. Come on up.
Well, thank you, Governor. And I think, as you mentioned, the big news here is that Maine is the first. And I think the first to approach this from